Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing an Amonkhet Remastered Premier Draft, another blast from the past kind of Premier Draft here. The Amonkhet block originally came out in 2017, so it has been quite a while. Very cool lore to this set. This is Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation mixed together in one set, so it's got all the Egyptian mythos theming from Amonkhet as well as the Nicol Bolas top-down design from Hour of Devastation. Some cool mechanics in the set. There's graveyard synergistic mechanics like Embalm that lets you basically flash back your creatures from graveyard, as well as these split cards where you cast the first half from hand and the second half from graveyard. There are this is the only set on Arena with -1/-1 counters, which is pretty cool. There's some cards to put -1/-1 counters on opposing creatures, some that put them on your own as a drawback. And there's also cycling, there's Afflict, which is a great aggressive mechanic. Just really cool set with a lot of stuff going on. So our pack one, we've got an interesting split card. I don't think it's super good though, because it has a lot of mana. And then we had two great uncommon removal spells. My favorite of the two was Desert's Hold, so that is going to be my pick one, pack one. This is basically Arrest or Pacifism. 3 mana to lock something down, make it so it can't attack, block, or activate its abilities. And if you control a desert or have a desert engraved, you gain 3 life when you play it. So this is just really great, really cheap removal. It's what I'm going to roll with. There was also an Abrade in that pack, which is a much more recognizable card because that's been reprinted a lot of times. Just 2 mana for 3 damage or 2 mana to destroy an artifact. So a couple really nice options here. I don't think Reason to Believe is super great. It's fun, it's goofy, but it's not generally the most consistent or greatest deal. I think it's probably going to be one of these two uncommons, although I do like taking deserts pretty highly. Cycling on a land is really nice to help you not flood out. There's also Oketcher's Monument, though. It's actually pretty great in an aggressive deck, and specifically in a white aggressive deck. Getting a 1/1 every time you cast a creature spell can add up really quickly. Yeah, I might go as a Catcher's Monument, but these other uncommons are really nice as well. The Vile Manifestation lends itself well to a cycling deck, and the Supreme Will is just a really flexible counter spell because you counter something unless your opponent pays 3, or you can use it as a draw spell if it's late in the game and your opponent's going to always have the mana to pay for it. So here we have Trial of Strength. I like all of the Trial cards. They're basically enchantments that have a good enter the battlefield effect and then return to your hand every time you cast a cartouche. And all of the cartouches are a pretty decent deal by themselves as well. So if you manage to get a deck with a couple Trials and a couple of cartouches, you get some really nice synergy there where you're recasting your Trials and getting extra value off of it. So again, 3 mana for a 4/2. Not the greatest, but if you get some cartouches, all of a sudden getting 2 4/2s off of this one card is a really good deal. So I like taking Trial of Strength here, speculating on being able to pick up some cartouches. Maybe we're going into green-white here. Compulsory Rest is pretty good as well. Not quite as good as Desert's Hold because it doesn't stop activated abilities, but that is another option in that pack. And of course, it is early enough in the draft we could have gone for kind of any color there, but I do like the Trials a lot, so that's why we're going for Trial of Strength. Now we have a fine cartouche. I think the white one's probably, I guess the red is the weakest cartouche. The white one's not phenomenal, but it is solid. You're going to get basically 2 power and toughness for only 1 mana because you're giving one of your creatures +1/+1 first strike and spitting out a warrior token. So this is pretty fine, and because we have a Trial already, I think I will take it here. There's not much it's competing with in this pack. Essence Scatter's probably the best card. It's just a pretty cheap counterspell, pretty efficient interaction in blue. There's also Counter Eternal for a decent little aggressive creature, or Soul Stinger has a pretty good ability. Comes into play with 2 -1/-1 counters. Then when it dies, you put those -1/-1 counters on a different creature. So you move the -1/-1 counters to your opponent's creatures. That's a cool card. But we're going to go with the cartouche to work with our Trial of Strength. Could take a second cartouche here, but again, I think the cartouche is just fine. Eternal of Harsh Truths is actually pretty nice, but Sunset Pyramid is super good because it can fit into any deck as a decent little card draw engine. Very similar to like Mazemind Tome, except you don't gain the life, but still a very good card. You're going to draw 3 cards out of it guaranteed, and then you can still have it sit around and scry you. So I like Sunset Pyramid a lot. But yeah, the best other cards in here are blue, so maybe we should be pushing into blue. Shimmer Scale Drake's another good one. If you don't have 5 mana, you're just cycling this in the early game to help hit your lands, but if you do, a 5 mana 3/4 flyer, pretty decently sized creature, nice high toughness, and enough power for a flying threat to be pretty good. So Shimmer Scale Drake and Eternal of Harsh Truths are pretty nice too, but we're going to go Sunset Pyramid early enough in the draft. I do quite like taking just a solid colorless card, staying a little more open here. Some pretty solid deserts here. All of these deserts that can sacrifice other deserts to do something are pretty solid. Ipnu Rivulet, really nice in like a controlling deck. You can try to use that as a mill win condition. None of these non-land cards are particularly great. Forsake the Worldly's like fine because it's naturalized that you can cycle. Lethal Sting is fine, but it is a pretty big downside. Sorcery speed removal, and you have to put a counter on your own creature. A -1/-1 that is. Winds of Rebuke's probably the best piece of interaction, but I think I'm just going to take one of the lands. I'll take the one that's moderately on color. We'll take the Hashep Oasis here, being a +3/+3 trick. Not a trick because it's sorcery speed, but a little +3/+3 sorcery there. If you sack a desert if you're flooding out. Even Initiate's one of the best cards in this pack. Dauntless Haven's pretty solid if we are an aggressive white strategy, but we're getting moderately cut off of that. I think my favorite card in this pack is Spring to Mind, because I just have a lot of fun with like the green-blue ramp decks, so I'm probably going to go with Spring to Mind. I don't know if it's the best choice, but it is a super fun card. Being a rampant growth, putting a basic land from your deck onto the battlefield tapped, and then also being the mind to cast from your grave later. 6 mana, draw 2 cards if you're out of stuff to do. And blue has seemed pretty open, so maybe pushing into green-blue could be good for us here. Tall Crop Elite is a fine white aggressive card at the top end if you can really go wide, which we can do with Oketra's Monument, so maybe Tall Crop Elite's a solid pick. These blue cards are pretty good too, though. Heckma Sentinels, being able to turn any cycling cards you have into a combat trick, and Countervailing Winds just being a pretty good counter spell. Pretty tempted to push into blue here and drop the Oketra's Monument plan, which is kind of sad, but I think maybe it's not what I'm supposed to do, but I just really like playing green-blue ramp decks here. Yeah, with a Fanbear this late, we definitely could still just be white aggro, but I could take Countervailing Winds too. Although I'm not a big fan of this in green-blue ramp, because green-blue ramp, obviously, all of your green cards are going to be just sorcery speed, big creatures you always want to play, so holding up counterspells is pretty hard, so I guess I will still take Fanbearer. Fanbearer, I think, is better than that 4-mana flyer we had last time. Reason to believe it's just not good even in green-blue ramp. I'm just going to go for Vile Manifestation. It's just the strongest card in the pack for a like blue-black cycling theme. Hieroglyphic Illumination is the best card in this pack. 1 mana, cycle, draw a card, or 4 mana, draw 2 if you have the mana for that. Pretty nice. These black cards or whatever, the green cards, whatever. One of the weaker ways to ramp. Okay, these are all pretty bad. Kenra Eternal's the best though, I think, so I'll take that. Slitherblade, Compelling Argument, these both are pretty filler. Just take a Compelling Arguments, because maybe with Vile Manifestation we're pushing towards blue-black cycling. Surprisingly enough, although Collected Company has to be a massively powerful card, right? Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put up to 2 creatures with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom. So we're going to need a really high count of creatures that cost 3 or less in our deck. But if we have that, this card's going to be pretty busted. I really don't know. We can go for a strategy that I know exists and that I know is pretty powerful, especially because we saw Vile Manifestation so late that we know the strategy is going to be open, which is blue-black cycling, and take like a Striped Riverwinder here, which is a big win condition because it's a 5/5 hexproof. That's really hard to kill. Hexproof is just a really obnoxious mechanic. Or I could take Collected Company and go for something that I don't even know if it's going to work out. Because, I mean, I only have, if I'm green, I have no green creatures that fit that bill right now. I'm going to go Striped Riverwinder and let people play the green Collected Company deck. I'm going to try to push into blue-black cycling. I just know that deck pretty well, because that was a deck that was actually available in Amonkhet Hour of Devastation Limited, which I'm much more familiar with than Amonkhet Remastered. The thing about Amonkhet Remastered is they put a lot of cards in here that weren't in the original set, especially in the rare slot, pretty much primarily in the rare slot, like Rest in Peace wasn't in the original set either. But yeah, Vile Manifestation certainly was, and blue-black cycling was certainly a really nice deck. Not as good as the cycling deck in Ikoria, but still pretty powerful. I'll happily take a Vile Manifestation here again, although the last one wheeled, so maybe we take Desert of the Glorified instead, because that's less likely to wield, because anybody in black takes this as a way to not flood out. So maybe I take Desert of the Glorified and count on wheeling the Vile Manifestation. I think it's such a powerful card for the strategy, though, that I just don't want to put any risk in getting that copy. But I think we could probably wheel that. Wow, Trial of Zeal's really good. This is one of the better trials. It might even be the best one. 3 mana for 3 damage to any target, and of course, anytime you play a card too, you should put it back in your hand. It's pretty sick. There's also some really good stuff for the cycling deck, though. Another Heckma Sentinels, a Horror of the Broken Lands, which is a pretty big win condition style cycling creature that also cycles. That's what's so nice about Horror of the Broken Lands, and what's so nice about Vile Manifestation. They're both like your win condition cycling creature, and they have cycling themselves. I think I'm gonna just stick to our bread and butter here. Take Horror of the Broken Lands, but Trial of Zeal is by far the strongest card in this pack. Horror of the Broken Lands is just the best with what we have right now. Gravedigger is actually pretty nice in the cycling deck. We cycle a creature, then bring it back to our hand. We can cycle it again later. Yeah, I think we're going to be blue-black cycling here. Pretty committed at this point. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping here to push into the strategy. Start sorting everything by mana curve so we can see how many creatures we have at each mana cost. And put all non-creatures in a different stack. Yeah, 3 2-drops already. It's pretty good. We can take a 4-drop Gravedigger here. It's not going to hurt that much. Wasteland Scorpion would be pretty good for this strategy too. I think Gravedigger's less likely to wheel though. Gravedigger's a pretty well-known, pretty solid limited card. How many zombies do we have for Lord of the Accursed to maybe be a thing? It's a pretty fun one if it'll work out. We've got 1, 2 zombies. Probably not happening. There are a lot of zombies in the set, but the most zombie-centric colors are white-black in this format, because it's all about mummies, which are like, you know, kind of white zombies in Magic lore. So we'll just take another Horror of the Broken Lands here for another big win condition creature, or our first removal spell here. Splendid Agony would probably be pretty good. Yeah, we don't have a lot of interaction right now. We actually have 0 interaction, so I should probably take Splendid Agony. It's pretty nice, pretty flexible removal. -2/-2 to 1 card, or -1/-1 to 2 different ones, and the -1/-1 are counters, so they stick around forever. Okay, another Kenra Eternal, or Ipnu Rivulet, or a Lord of the Accursed. At this point, I'm pretty tempted to take Lord of the Accursed. I don't think we're going to try to win from milling our opponents, although this does mill your opponent pretty quickly if you have enough deserts. 4 per time you do it. I think we've got enough, you know, Vile Manifestation, Horror of the Broken Lands to try to just beat our opponent's face, so I'll take Lord of the Accursed here. Might be wrong. This is a pretty easy Heckma Sentinels. This is great for the cycling deck. Floodwaters is just fine. Winds of Rebuke is fine interaction, but we're going to go Heckma Sentinels. Now we've got a Desert of the Mindful, which is perfect. We don't have any deserts yet, so I'm not going to take Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs, but this is solid once you have a few deserts. But yeah, it's got to be the desert here. It's just so good for the cycling deck, and any deck, really. But especially the cycling deck. Now we can definitely take our first Wasteland Scorpion. 2/2 Death Touch that can cycle. Again, Winds of Rebuke is solid interaction, but Scorpion again, we got to get our cycling count up here for this strategy. Essence Scatter is a nice piece of interaction for blue. Counter a big creature spell. Definitely will make the cut. Don't love Ancient Crab or Seer of the Last Tomorrow. They're pretty similar, just like a 3-drop with high toughness. But I'm not going to play Supernatural Stamina, so I'll take Seer anyway. Technically does trigger everything that cares about cycling. Everything in the set that cares about how many times you've cycled also cares about discarding a card, as you can see Heckma Sentinels here. It's like when you cycle or discard a card, it gets +1/+1. Horror of the Broken Lands, when you cycle or discard a card, it gets +2. So Seer of the Last Tomorrow actually does trigger that stuff. I think I'm taking Wasteland Scorpion over Soul Stinger, but Soul Stinger is actually a fine card. It's pretty solid, but we care about cycling a lot here, so we're taking the Scorpion. All right. Pack 3, we open up an on-color rare. Pretty nice one, too. 4 mana to give everything -2/-2 until end of turn, and then Riches. Each opponent chooses a creature they control, and you gain control of that creature. So you get their worst creature, but you're still stealing one of their creatures, which is pretty impactful, because they're down 1 creature, you're up 1 creature. If Near Deadlands would be sick, but I don't have a super high desert count anyway, so it actually wouldn't be incredible. I'm going to take Rags to Riches. If I'm really lucky, I can wheel Deadlands, but if I don't, Heckma Sentinels and Countervailing Winds would both be phenomenal additions to this deck as well. So we'll take this Rags to Riches. Solid little miniature Wrath against the more aggressive strategies. And it actually does look pretty solid in our deck. We do have a lot of creatures that die to it, but we also have a decent chunk of ones that don't, like Heckma Sentinels, which is a 2/3, Seer's a 1/4, Lord is a 2/3. These manifestations are 0/4s. See, I think Rags is going to be pretty good. Now we'll definitely take an If Near Dead lands, a land that doubles as a potential removal spell, even by itself. You can sacrifice this land to itself to give something -2/2 permanently, so that's pretty good. Love to wheel a Heckma Sentinels or a Doom Dissenter, they'd both be fine, but If Near Dead lands is easily the pickup first. Okay, got a Doom Beetle if I want another cheap, just super high toughness blocker, or an Aerial Guide if I want to try to send my Vile Manifestations into the sky, which is kind of tempting. I think I'll take Aerial Guide, and I think Doom Beetle is more likely to wheel. So we might be able to get Doom Beetle anyway for just a big, high toughness, cheap blocker. Wandering Death is solid for this kind of deck, but so is Seeker of Insight. Because it does trigger, again, it triggers most of the cards that care about cycling. They also care about discarding a card. And this gives us another 2-drop that's pretty high toughness. It's high enough toughness to survive Rags to Riches, which is good. I think I'm going to take Seeker of Insight here over Wander and Death, but that card is nice because you cycle it early game or you pick up 2 creatures with it late game. But I'm going to take Seeker, get another 2-drop into the deck. Festering Mummies, like, fine. Soul Stinger's fine. Ancient Crab's fine. I'll just take a Soul Stinger here, our first 4-drop outside of Gravedigger. Get some minuses on itself and then move those minuses elsewhere. Ruthless Sniper's gotta be great in the cycling deck, right? Putting a -1/-1 counter on a creature every time you cycle or discard a card. I wish I had anything with Embalm or Eternalize, because Vizier of the Anointed is an incredible deal. Even if you have a single card in your deck that embalms or eternalizes, those are the mechanics that let you recast a creature from grave. So basically you're spending 4 mana to put a card in your graveyard that you know you can recast. So no matter what, it's a 2-for-1. You're playing a Vizier and then you're embalming whatever you targeted. And if the Vizier is still on the board by the time that you embalm whatever you targeted, you're also drawing a card off the Vizier's ability, which is a 3-for-1. That card is nuts. Unfortunately, it's pack 3 and we have 0 Eternalize or Embalm cards, so we're not going to play that. All right. Anything with cycling here? Seer of the Last Tomorrow does discard a card. I guess Compelling Argument does cycle. Sure. Well, we have enough stuff that cares about cycling that Compelling Argument is just 1 blue mana cycle is a good deal. Unfortunately, we don't have any trials. Cartouche of Ambition is really good if you have trials. It's still pretty solid without them. Giving something +1/+1 lifelink and giving them something a -1/-1 counter is pretty great. My issue here is that Shimmerscale Drake is a really, really good card. 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer with that cheap cycling is good for any deck. And again, the cycling cards that are good at any deck are really, really, really good in the deck that cares about cycling. We'll take a Countervailing Winds now. I think our creature count's perfectly reasonable, especially at 3 mana, so I'm probably not going to shove a 3rd Heckma Sentinels in over a Countervailing Winds. That's got to be better for our deck. Another cycling card. Okay, well, between Compelling Argument and Heckma Sentinels, I'm a little more interested in Heckma Sentinels this time. Yeah, hopefully our cycling count isn't too low here, but I don't really have time to look at every single cycling card in the deck. There's a chance I was supposed to take Compelling Arguments still, depending on how many cyclers we have. But I like Heckma Sentinels a lot. Big fan. Alright, just a few picks left for this pretty sweet looking blue-black cycling deck here. We did wheel the Wander in Death. That's going to be a great one. Yeah, nice late game play, an early game cycler. I don't think I have a lot of Enter the Battlefield or Death triggers, but Festering Mummy's not that exciting. I don't know. Still just go with the Festering Mummy. Probably not playing Strategic Planning either. Alright, let's build this deck. Okay, so since we're a blue-black cycling deck, one of the things that we want to do here is kind of similar to what I would do in a cycling deck in Ikoria. which is kind of sort out all the cards we're just going to use as a 1-mana way to cycle, which isn't a lot here, but it's a few of them. The Scarab Feast and the Compelling Argument probably almost always just going to be 1 mana to cycle, so let's put those at the bottom of the curve, and they're almost definitely not getting cut. With enough 1-mana cycling cards, we can just cut lands over those because we're always cycling these turn 1, which helps us draw into those lands since we're just seeing more cards each game. And we know those are just immediately swapping out. Wandering Death is probably almost always getting cycled for 2. Illumination often enough cycles at 1. I'll put that at the 1-drop slots. Then I think, okay, Rags to Riches is not an 11-mana card arena. Let's put it at the 4-drop slot. Okay. Creatures, most of these creatures I'm trying to cast late game, but we can definitely cycle these 1-mana cyclers in the early game. Shimmer Scale Drake, I'm less happy to cycle early game. Pretty okay to cycle Wasteland Scorpion on 2. Yeah, we can definitely cut lands in this deck. Okay, we need to cut 8 cards out of here. I think I could cut like 2 lands probably with the amount of 1-2-mana cyclers available. So we'll start by going for like a 15-land build potentially. And then we cut 6 cards out of the deck. I don't think I'm cutting a single card that has cycling. Soul Stinger's a little bit filler. Again, it's a solid card, but almost everything in this deck is a solid card. Let's check our zombie count for this Lord of the Accursed. I don't think we actually made it on the Lord of the Accursed front. Yeah, we got 4 zombies. What zombies are they? Gravedigger, Lord of the Accursed, 2 other zombies somewhere. Kenra Eternal. Doesn't actually look that great. Basically just a 2-mana 2/2 most of the time, unless we're super aggressive. The other zombie's Festering Mummy, which also doesn't look that great in this deck. -1/-1 counter on a creature instead of just a temporary -1/-1 is actually kind of cool, though. It's like a better Shambling Ghast if you don't care about the treasure, but the thing that's so good about the Shambling Ghast is not just the treasure, but the flexibility of being able to do -1/-1 or get a mana. I am not super sure about Festering Mummy. Definitely Kenra Eternal, I think, isn't likely to make the cut. With the amount of 2-drops we already have 4 2-mana creatures without it that I think are probably better in this deck, just big annoying blockers. Although Dune Beetle is definitely a possible cut here, because Vile Manifestations are kind of just better Dune Beetles. Seeker of Insight's definitely got a way better ability, and that works well with our other stuff. We're probably cutting the zombie theme with this Lord of the Accursed getting cut as well. So let's cut some of that out. We'll definitely cut the Lord and the Kenra Eternal. I'm probably cutting the Soul Stinger as well. Again, one of these cards just feels like solid. Although I guess maybe the Dune Beetle fits that. Or the Seer of the Last Tomorrow. It's hopefully not necessary. Going to be a bit of a lower creature count here, but I think that's fine. I mean, we still have 18. We're going to cut 4 creatures, though. Go down to 14 creatures. Little on the low end. General creature kind of go for is like 15 to 17. But depending on your deck layout, you can really do whatever you want if you have a good reason to go really high on creatures or a good reason to go really low on creatures. But this looks like a pretty average deck that wants that average like 15 to 17 count or 14 to 17. I think it's like 15 to 17, 14 to 18, depending on how flexible you want to be there. Yeah, I mean, I think we could just cut these 4 creatures and that would be reasonable. Keep a really high non-creature count for Seeker of Insight. What's our weakest non-creature stuff? I'm gonna keep all the cycling in here. Sunset Pyramid is a little slow. It's a draw 3 over time. Strategic Planning, maybe with all the cycling, Strategic Planning is just not great card draw. I mean, it's solid card draw, and in this format, there's a lot of graveyard synergy, so this is way better in this format than it ever was in any other format. Because you could mill your own flashback cards like Rags to Riches, I guess Aftermath is what they call it, or your own flashback creatures like the Eternalize and Embalm creatures that you can recast from Grave. But we don't really have that going on, so I don't think Strategic Plan is a good card draw in here. So I'm probably going to cut Planning and then 2 of these two of these creatures. So let's actually sort by the curve of when creatures are landing on the board now, rather than when they're getting cycled. So that I know I can play blockers pretty consistently at the different costs. So we know when we're impacting the board. So we have 4 creatures that cost 2 or less. It's not horrible, but also not great. I think I want to put another in here. So Festering Mummy or Dune Beetle is going to make the cut, and then the other 3 will get cut. So we'll cut the Seer, cut the Soul Stinger. One of these 2 is going to stick in here. Festering Mummy or Dune Beetle. Do I want just a big high toughness, just a big booty blocker, or another just really cheap blocker against really aggressive decks that can kind of minimize an opposing creature, make it smaller permanently? I think I'll take the Festering Mummy here. I've got 3 high toughness, just big booty 2-drops. The 2 Vile Manifestations and the Seeker of Insight are, it's 2 0/4s and a 1/3. And the Vile Manifestations are going to be like 2 4s on average early game. But yeah, I think I'll put the Festering Mummy in over the Dune Beetle. Not super certain on that, but it's just where I'm going to go so we can finish off the deck and get into the gameplay. So this is going to be the deck. Going to be a nice, spicy little blue-black cycling deck. So very excited to see how this plays as we head into the gameplay. Here we are, game 1 on the play. I might have to mulligan this. I almost definitely have to mulligan this. All my cycling cards are 2 mana in the hand. I only have 1. If I had like a 1 mana black cycler, I might get greedy here, but everything's cycling on 2. It's a bit rough. But this does show how you can run a lower land count in these decks, because if we had 2 lands, even though I have so many expensive cards, I have 1, 2, 3 cards I can cycle away to draw cards. But that one's not keepable with just 1 land there. This is way better. This is a really nice hand. I think I get rid of the Aerial Guide, because we're just going to play Sentinels on turn 3 and Drake later. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing here. Play an island and pass the turn. Thoughtseize, that's annoying. Another card that was not in the original format. They kind of used this Amonkhet Remastered set to throw in a bunch of cards they just wanted to put in Historic, which was kind of frustrating for me because I really liked Hour of Devastation as a format, and I feel like the Amonkhet Remastered is definitely a worse format than Hour of Devastation because of all the random, just extra rares that can be a little frustrating. Thoughtseize is like a little annoying, but the biggest issue is all of the wrath effects. They threw a bunch of wrath effects in this format. Obviously getting got by a collected company is probably going to be pretty frustrating too if that ever happens. But like putting like Wrath of God into this format, they just made it really, really, really board wipe heavy. Could have countered that, but I'm not that worried about that. I'm probably just going to Splendid Agony it actually, since the Essence Scatter can kill a bigger creature than the Agony can. And this way I get to keep holding on to Illumination for maybe a bigger card draw. Sunset Pyramid is tempting. If I play that, I'm not holding up Essence Scatter, though. Am I just cycling Illumination at this point? I'm trying to hit 5 mana for Shimmer Scale Drake. And say I could play Pyramid and cycle Illumination here. Sure. We hope they don't play a good creature this turn. Again, we are playing 15 lands, so this is going to happen a lot. We're going to have a lot of games where we just cycle our way out. I'm going to get killed by a Mind Rot. It's always frustrating to lose to Mind Rot, but this is a good position for Mind Rot. Mind Rot, the reason I don't like it's a really coin flippy card. Great in like the mid game, but super early game you're not impacting the board anyway, and then late game your opponent's just already played their whole hand anyway. So any card that could be a completely dead draw late game I really don't like. At least in this set the Mind Rot can cycle, so that's not terrible. How many cyclers do I have in grave? Oh, more than enough. Probably just drop Vile Manifestation, so if they have more discard they're not getting rid of that. And I guess we don't just like lose to Mind Rot. We do just lose to Scorpion God. Woo, baby, do we lose to Scorpion God. Alright, I guess we did lose to Mind Rot, because if they didn't Mind Rot me, I'd have Essence Scatter. Although with the mana situation, I probably wouldn't have held it up. I probably would have just played Manifestation there. But yeah, that's one of the biggest bombs in the set. I don't think we can beat that. I can play a Death Toucher, but it just keeps going back to their hand, so we can't even kill it. Then even if it didn't go back to their hand, they can use this -1/-1 counter ability to just wreck my whole board state. I guess I just dig for some kind of out that doesn't exist. And yeah, at this point I'm going to be less focused on trying to win this game and more focused on just wrapping it up here. I am going to play it out, but I'm not going to pay massive attention to making sure I like make the super best plays, because I don't think the best lines in the world are going to win this game. Against the Scorpion God, these gods are pretty big mega bombs. Just can't get knocked off the board in any way. Maybe I blocked the Doom Dissenter, actually. Maybe I should have done that last turn. They do get a 2/2 out of it. Yeah, they can just straight up kill every Death Toucher we play. That does make Manifestation bigger, though. That's pretty cool. Because they put another Cyclone Grave. Oh, and they can exile that as well. It's a game of some bad beats. I don't think I can survive because I can only play one blocker. I guess theoretically I could survive with Heckma Sentinels if they don't play a land this turn. If they play a land, I'm dead. Because I was going to say, they can sacrifice Ifnir Deadlands to put 2 -1/-1 counters on this thing, and then use Scorpion God to put 1 last counter on it if they play a land this turn. If they don't play a land this turn, then I get to block here, but they draw a card off of the block because Scorpion God is a nuts card. Alright, now I don't have any line that survives. So we will scoop them up and head on in to game 2. That was a pretty devastating game 1. Thoughtseize into Mind Rot into Scorpion God. Again, we had a chance if I was prophetic and I held up the Essence Scatter, but that was a rough one. Game 2, here we are. I like this hand a lot. We've got pretty much all the lands we will ever need in this deck. We only need one more by turn 5, which should be pretty easy to hit. We've got a Ruthless Sniper to clear out some cheap creatures if they're aggressive enough that Shimmer Skilldrake's not going to get there. Actually going to drop Festering Mummy before Ruthless Sniper because I'd be much more okay with their cheap removal spells being used on this thing than the Ruthless Sniper. The Sniper doesn't really have an ability until I have the mana to cycle something and pay an additional, which isn't going to be until turn 3 with my current hand. So just play the Festering Mummy. It also gets to attack into 2 toughness creatures freely, such as a Naga Vitalist. Alright, and now we're doing great on mana. We've got all the mana we'll ever need. I'm going to offer the trade into the Naga Vitalist, because if we do trade, we will be keeping them off of big plays. I'm not going to cycle a Shimmer Skilldrake, so I'll just get the Ruthless Sniper's initial 1 mana investment out of the way. Get it onto the board. So unfortunately they did not trade with the Naga Vitalist, which means they are open to playing a 4 mana card this turn, but they did play a tapped land, so just a 3 mana card turn 3. I'll just do the average thing here. Maybe they'll Splendid Agony the Sniper. Hopefully not. I do like my Ruthless Sniper. Obelisk Spider. So every time they're putting a -1/-1 counter on a creature, they're draining us for 1 life. So that includes when they put it on their own creatures or when they put them on our creatures. And the Obelisk Spider is pretty much impossible to attack into. A 1/4 reach that puts a -1/-1 counter on a creature every time it deals damage to it? That's going to be an issue. Let's drop our Heckma Sentinels and pass then? Don't know what we're going to do about this Obelisk Spider. Archfiend of Ifnir. Another one of the biggest bombs in the set. a 5/4 flyer for 5, already incredible and limited. And every time they cycle or discard a card, they put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. Not only is it a controlled wrath effect where they don't have to cycle and discard cards, but it's also a one-sided wrath effect. So that is pretty horrific. I have 3 cyclers in my hand. Festering Mummy's going to put a -1/-1 counter on something when it dies. I only have the mana to cycle one thing right now, so all I can guarantee is that I'm getting 2 counters on this Archfiend of Ifnir, but we're going to have to do it. That way, if we top deck a Splendid Agony, we have an out. Because we're going to cycle a card to Ruthless Sniper, make the Ruthless Sniper put a -1/-1 counter on the Archfiend. The Archfiend will now have 3 toughness. If they discard at least one card, they'll kill Festering Mummy, and we will put another -1/-1 counter on the Archfiend. I think I cycle the Desert right now. That way they can't respond by cycling another card to kill the Ruthless Sniper. Currently? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, because the ability still goes on the stack, even if they would kill it before their ability resolves. Alright, it's a 2 toughness Archfiend. If they have one more cycler, then we need Splendid Agony. If they don't have another cycler, though, we can kill Archfiend next turn. If they don't have another cycler, just a Gate to the Afterlife. Whenever a non-token creature they control dies, they can draw a card and discard a card, which means if I kill any of their creatures here, then they get to put another -1/-1 counter on my board and kill Ruthless Sniper, so I can't do the block I want to do, which is to kill Vitalist. So I can't really do any block. I mean, I could block Obelisk Spider, but they put another counter on Sentinels, drain me for another life, so I'd rather just take the 1 damage, because they're dealing 1 damage to me with the Spider either way. Okay, so we do get to kill this Archfiend, which means they're down to just 1 toughness creatures on board. So we're going to do Compelling Argument. Archfiend is down to 1 toughness. Now I can Illumination or Wander in Death. Or Shimmer Scale Drake. Is Hieroglyphic Illumination to draw 2 blind going to be better than drawing 2 creatures out of grave? Currently, yes, because we just have a Mummy in grave. I could also just discard Shimmer Scale Drake and then Wander in Death to pick up the Drake later, actually. That might be interesting. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, so we kill the Archfiend. Now they get to draw the card, discard the card, but they don't get to kill Sniper because Archfiend is gone. And I feel like I might as well attack here because we're taking 2 damage. I guess I stop Vitalist and we take just 1 damage on the Crackback if I don't attack. Dealing 3 is probably better than gaining 1. Plus they might just tap it to play a card anyway. Alright. Oh no. Archfiend of Ifnir and Godpharaoh's Gift. Another Mega Bomb from the format. They can exile creatures from their graveyard every turn to make a 4/4 haste version of it. So immediately get the Archfiend back. Next turn they'll get a 4/4 trample haste. Scry 3, gain life equal to the top card of their library's mana value. This is another unwinnable game, even with like the perfect hand. Just... that is three Mega Bombs we've played against in the first 2 games, unfortunately. Again, nothing I can really do. They're getting a 4/4 trample haste from grave, even if I somehow kill this Archfiend. Can cycle 2 things and get 2 -1/-1 counters, hit them for more, send a message, but I'm just going to scoop it up here. I cannot beat a Godpharaoh's Gift. 0-2. Very, very nasty decks from our opponents these first couple rounds. See if we can turn things around, maybe rally into a few wins here as we head into game 3. Alright, here we are on the play in game 3. One of the best hands we've had so far. Manifestation into Sentinels, into just holding up Scatter. Which, if the last 2 games are anything to go by, maybe I should just never play a creature, just hold up S and Scatter every single turn. Although Scatter doesn't counter a Godfar's Gift. I guess it wouldn't have helped that much last game. So we are playing against a green deck here. They played a Desert of the Indomitable, the Green Desert, and then a Forest. They have a double green way to... There's no double green removal spell. All the green removal in this format, you need to have a creature on the board to cast, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see what they've got here. Initiate's Companion. Well, a 0/4 can block that all day long. Perfectly fine. We'll just drop our Heckma Sentinels now. And go ahead and pass the turn. See what our opponent's got cooking here. Another green-black deck. That tends to be -1/-1 counter synergies. That's what that color pair is going for. They're going to drop a Bontu's Monument, so every time they cast a creature now, they're going to drain us for life, and their creatures cost 1 less to cast. Got another blue source here, that would be awesome, but since I don't... I guess even if I had another, I couldn't play Sentinels and hold up Scatter. I think I'm just playing Sentinels again this turn. Could attack in with Sentinels and threaten that I have something to cycle here. Don't think I want to, though, because I don't want to just Gravedigger super early just to get a Sentinel back. I guess that would have been a fine line. Basically a free 2 damage, and then if push comes to shove and we just take the trade, then we can just Gravedigger this turn, which isn't the end of the world. It's just not ideal. But I kind of like just trying to go for a Deadlands next turn to just kill this companion. Got a Dune Beetle, a 1/4. Pretty big blocker, but it can't kill any of our Sentinels, which is nice. And that's going to be it. Attack with Companion. Well, we'll make sure it doesn't deal damage to us. And I'm very okay with this Vile Manifestation dying because it really doesn't matter right now. It's not going to matter for quite some time. We have no cyclers in hand, and by the time it is going to be big enough to matter, we can Gravedigger it back. So pretty cool trading a trick for that. Okay. Whoa, excuse me. Big voice crack. But yeah, Splendid Agony can... Splendid Agony is like actually a little annoying because it does... some somewhat nasty things in that it's going to make one of our Sentinels smaller too. It's not really like a 1-for-1 trade. It's like a 1.5-for-1. Marauding Bone Slasher, a 3/3. I could always threaten a cycle so that my Heckma Sentinels can beat that, so I don't think I'm countering that yet. We're definitely never getting aggro here, so I don't see a huge reason to have dropped Gravedigger here. I just like holding up Scatter and playing it really safe till I have 6 mana. I'll drop Gravedigger next turn though. Still hold up Scatter. And it won't even look that suspicious because it could just look like I'm holding up the ability to cycle the manifestation to make the Sentinels bigger. Which is kind of true. That's part of what I'd be holding up, because then I could block the 3/3 with my 2/3 and make it a 3/4. Yeah, you can have a 1/3. I can block that without killing it, so it seems pretty fine. I always like saving the Deadlands for later so our opponent never can like play around it. So if it's on board and they know it's coming, they might not play like a really good 2 toughness creature. I think I do pick up Manifestation again so that I could block with a 3/4 Sentinels if I need to. Kind of in a top deck war here. None of us have really done all that much this game. Alright, opponent cycling a Stinging Shot to draw their next card. Got 2 cards in hand here, 3 mana up. They could play black creatures for 1 mana less, so they could play a 4 mana black creature. Play Aronis' Stalwart. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I can cycle to kill that as well, so I'm just going to let that resolve. As long as my Heckma Sentinels is still on the board, I can block that. Okay, they're going to pass turn. Sure. Now we have a Wasteland Scorpion to cycle as well. Play the Deadlands here. I could use the Deadlands to kill Stalwart and still hold up a cycle. I only have one other desert in this deck, so it's pretty unlikely I get 2 triggers off of this anyway. Yeah, sure. We'll just kill the Stalwart straight up. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Feeling pretty good here. Got 3 nice pieces of interaction right now. This Bantu's Monument does give our opponents some level of reach here, some level of inevitability, but I doubt they have 15 more creatures in this deck. Ooh, that is actually pretty sweet. Start getting some potential threats. There's no cyclers in our grave yet, but we've got 2 more to cycle in hand. I think I want to start putting these on board and trying to turn these into our potential attackers. Our potential win conditions. It's going to take a little while to put in the work to do that, but they're going to block everything they have on board right now. And we have the Essence Scatter for their first actually like scary creature. But we're both just waiting to draw some stuff here. That is their first scary creature. We're going to counter the 6/5. Okay, Wander in Death. It's actually really sick here, because we could just cast that and end up with another cycling card in grave. They only have 2 power that can block right now. I guess they just block the 2/3 with Heckma Sentinels. Could block and kill Gravedigger if they double block it, but we can get a couple damage in here and still hold up blockers, so we might as well. I guess we can't. They just, yeah, they block with a 1/3 and a 0/3. What am I on about? I guess we're just hanging out still. They are going to double block and kill Gravedigger. Okay, very happy with that then, because now I can actually Wander in Death. Cool, and I get 2 damage in. Okay, so that worked out kind of how I wanted. Now the Vile Manifestations are 1/4s, and I drew a card off of Wander in Death, just the same as if I had cycled it. I drew a Heckma Sentinels here. And now I've got a Gravedigger. If something good ends up in grave again, we can redo that Enter the Battlefield effect. Because again, the 2/2 body wasn't really affecting the board state all that much, so kind of nice to have it for later. Wow, we might just get drained out here. Now every time a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we lose a life and they gain a life. So probably just stop playing creatures, and again, entirely focus on Vile Manifestation. Rags does not look that great here, but it can be good post-combat. I think, again, we're going to hold the Manifestations back. Just send in the Sentinels and cycle if we need to try to kill some stuff. Gonna just let them get that Feral Prowler card draw. Not much I can do about that, but we'll see. The Cultivator gets them a land. So if I played a Rags post-combat here, I would kill Dune Beetle and Cultivator, but I'd also kill one of my Sentinels if I don't cycle a card first. So I don't think that's happening this turn. I think I just cycle the Scorpion so that they have to sacrifice their Cultivator this turn, and the Manifestations are bigger. And maybe I'll draw into another Cycler and I can kill the Dune Beetle too. That would be sick, but that would be a pretty lucky draw, so I'm not going to bank on that. Okay, they are going to go ahead and grab their land off the Cultivator, which makes sense. But yeah, worst case scenario here, we get to Gravedigger back the Scorpions so we can cycle it again later. Ooh! Draw 2 is powerful, but just killing Dune Beetle here, probably worth losing 1 card draw. Oh, I can do it again, but there's no point in that one. That's actually a really good card to just keep in hand. That's going to counter pretty much anything they cast. We've got 5 cards in grave. Counter unless they pay 5. And then that again is going to make the Manifestations bigger, so now we're attacking with the Manifestations and the Sentinels here. And Yeah, we've just got the lead by a lot. Now we have a Horror of the Broken Lands as well. We're dealing so much damage, we can just attack with everybody easily. Easily an attack all situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if I cycle one card. Cycle the Horror. I don't think I want to cycle this Countervailing Winds. I think I want to just make sure they can't play anything that gets them out of this. They're dead in like one more attack, probably. Right, if I play Seeker of Insight this turn, I guess they drain me for life, go up to 15, but then I have Seeker of Insight for potential drawing and discarding and adding to the damage I'm doing. And I'm still holding up Countervailing Winds by casting that. If I cast Gravedigger, I don't hold up Countervailing Winds this turn. So I'm just going to cast Seeker. We have 6 cards in Grave, so counter unless they spend 6. They only have 7 mana total. So again, Countervailing Winds is going to counter anything. Except a 1 mana card, I guess. Festering... It's a 1 mana card, alright. Festering Mummy resolves. Oh, the Bone Slasher can block now. Okay, Cartouche of Strength does not resolve. That is a removal spell. We'll counter that one. Now the manifestations are even bigger. They're 5/4s. This is the deck plan. This game's really working out for us. Double Sentinels and double Manifestation. We really get to show off the power of these cards as you get into the late game. They just do some nasty stuff. Am I going to Rags here? I can Rags and then draw a card, discard a card off Seeker of Insight. They do have a 3/3 they can block with. If I Rags, they can't block with that, but then my Sentinels are 0/1s, so they can put a -1/-1 counter on one to try to kill it, but then I can Seeker of Insight in response, because this is instant speed, right? I think I'd do this. Full control, and then we can Seeker of Insight in response to them trying to kill a Sentinels. So they should put a counter on Seeker of Insight, because that's the only one that would actually die here. But that's pretty easy to miss. If I keep this Swamp, I get to play Sentinels this turn, but it's probably not worth it. Probably not worth discarding Gravedigger. Okay. So they have no blockers up, so we get to attack with everybody. We should have lethal next turn. If they don't get like another zombie here so they can block with Bone Slasher. Alright, this looks very lethal. Alright, we are going to get there. We're going to get at least one win with this deck. Feels pretty good. That was a pretty cookie cutter game for what this deck is trying to do. That being said, even though that was like really nice by the end, don't think it worked out like super well, because it did take us a long time to get there to where we're attacking with the manifestations. And our opponent wasn't really doing a lot. Just played a bunch of just average little cheap creatures. Being able to counter the Monitor was pretty huge, but... And the Cartouche of Strength. Yeah, I'm gonna guess they put up a reasonable fight. But they did have an awkward start, so I'm a little worried that that if that's like the best our deck can do, we aren't really going to be able to beat solid curve outs. But we'll see. We'll see what happens as we head into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play. Really nice looking hand. Seeker into Sentinels. Probably playing Pyramid turn 4, and we draw discard off Seeker that turn. Right, and if we have 4 lands turn 4, that means we could play Pyramid and still hold up Scatter, and then if we don't use it, draw the card. Yeah, it seems like a really nice curve with how it can play out here. Really love that I can turn 4 the Pyramid and still hold up Scatter if we hit a land, and we did hit a land, so this is going to be a sweet one. Sweet curve out on the play here. Very excited to see how this one plays out. Seeker plus Sentinel is always pretty nasty, pretty fun. Unfortunately, opponent starts with a 2-mana 2/1 flyer, so they're going to be hitting us pretty hard. I guess not that hard. 2 damage a turn, but nothing we can do to stop that now that it's on the board. We'll need to draw into our Splendid Agony, which looks pretty nice here. Kill both of those if we draw into that. Well, they're probably just going to block and get their 2/2 zombie sometime here. Okay, we are on the Sunset Pyramid plan, so I can draw discard off Seeker of Insight. Probably chump the Heckma Sentinels here. But I would like to draw and discard here, get rid of one of these lands. So I'm not going to attack with Seeker either way, even though it's more likely we actually get 1 damage in that way. Yeah, I guess if they do... Missing out on a draw discard is kind of rough, but if they do want to trump here, then I might actually just hold Seeker to block the 2/2 to stop 2 damage. Okay, and then if we Essence Scatter, everything works out great, because now I can still block the 2/2 and I can draw discard this turn. Although possible I should have held on to Essence Scatter, but this thing being able to attack as a 5/4 is a big enough deal in my deck because I'm pretty low on removal, much more trying to interact with counter spells than removal spells, so I think I just need to use counter spells when there's a decent enough threat, which Hooded Brawler is. Our deck, again, just low interaction, it is just going to die if they have bombs. I'm just going to accept that. Okay, Vile Manifestation. No Cyclers in grave yet, but still spicy. Compelling Argument. That's going to be 1 Cycler for the grave. Make the Sentinels bigger as well. Yeah, sure. I guess I could mill myself to try to make Manifestation bigger, but I feel like drawing 1 card is probably better than milling myself 5. Although I would draw and discard still, which is almost the same. Maybe I'm compelling argumenting myself next turn or something. Weirdly enough. With Vile Manifestation on board, that seems reasonable. But a +2/+2 combat trick, that's very annoying. If I played a land, I could still win this fight. But haven't played this format enough to remember that there's a 1-mana +2/+2. So I punted there. We go land pre-combat, we could cycle both to win the fight, but then I would have lost Vile Manifestation to win this fight, which I don't know if it's worth it. Sure. All in all, that's probably fine. It's probably better to still have Vile Manifestation. I think I am going to mill myself with Seeker, or with Compelling Argument, because I can still do, potentially just draw a card with Seeker, because I'm discarding this. 6th Sense on the Wasp. Really, really good here. They draw an extra card every time it hits us. Now we really need to draw one of our -1/-1 cards. We've got 3 of them, I think, but only 2 of them that would work. The Sharpshooter and the Splendid Agony would both be perfect. Those are the 2 big outs to that. That is certainly not that card. Let's draw a card here. Play a Swamp. Want to draw a card, discard a card, or just straight draw a card off Argument? I think I just want to just draw a card. Sorry, Seeker. Gravedigger. For Heckma Sentinels, that's not bad. Might be cycling a Riverwinder because we need to kill this flyer that badly. Feels pretty bad. None of these kill a flyer. Alright. I mean, I guess we have 4 outs because we have Rags to Riches as well. Rags to Riches would be huge. Rags to Riches would be devastating this game. Okay, they're going to draw another card. Come on, deck, let's cycle into one of the many outs. There we go. Ruthless Sniper's pretty great here, too. Alright, now we're just going to go wild with the Ruthless Sniper. Okay, the blue. Ooh, there's a desert to cycle as well. I need one more mana before I'm going to be using that to kill something here. If I attack in, I'm trading with Ritualist because they double block. I guess I could cycle Desert and kill both of these, but then I can't kill the bat. So I think I'm just passing turn here, drawing the card off the pyramid. Trying to take over the game with a Ruthless Sniper. Vile Manifestation has become a monster now. And they're going to Lethal Sting the Manifestation. That's fine. I've got the Gravedigger. I think Ruthless Sniper is more important. But again, I would still have the Gravedigger for Sniper. Alright, they hit us for 4 this turn. Sure. Just draw a card. Ooh, Vile Manifestation number 2. Let's go. And a Shimmer Scale Drake? Alright. This is some pretty sweet stuff late game here. Cycle the Desert, shoot the Blighted Bat. Okay. I don't have the mana to Gravedigger and get back the Manifestation and cast it this turn, so I think I'm just going to cast the new one. And I can still block everything they have on the ground here. And then I just Sunset Pyramid to Scry. And we're still holding up a Drake if I need to -1/-1 something out of nowhere. I probably should have attacked with Sniper. That's not going to be blocking. I guess it blocks the Ritualist. The 1/3 Ritualist. Well, not anymore. They get to remove their -1/-1 counter from the Oasis Ritualist. So yeah, I definitely should have attacked with Sniper. In hindsight, since they got to remove that counter here. Alright, they're going to pass. We're going to scry 1. Heckma Sentinels. It's a heckin' good draw. Drop that down. Well, nah, Gravedigger Manifestation here. Double block with double Ritualist, though. Kill Manifestation. With Ruthless Sniper, I can ruin their blocks by discarding this Drake, so I actually send this one in, and then I post-combat Gravedigger and play another Manifestation. Sick, no blocks. Here's Gravedigger for Manifestation number 2. The Vile boys are back at it again. Pass turn, we're going to scry 1. They're going to send in the Quarry Hauler. Sure, you can kill my Seeker of Insight now. They'll kill the Gravedigger. That is fine too. Scry 1. Splendid Agony. Don't mind if I do. Love having that flexibility. Get in there, Vile Manifestations. Threatening Lethal. Okay, and now we ruined their day with Shimmer Scale Drake Ruthless Sniper play. So they only have 3 power blocking my 4 toughness creature. So they do not kill it. And then I'll play it safe and hold up Agony and scry with the Sunset Pyramid. And that should be game. Yeah, that's going to be 2 and 3. A big comeback that game. Some sweet stuff from the Dimir Mill deck. Really, or Dimir Mill. Dimir Cycling deck. Really, really good stuff from the Sniper. Specifically, getting those -1/-1 counters on our opponent's flyers. Here we are in game 5. We got a turn 1 Ruthless Sniper. That's tempting. Turn 2 Manifestation, and everything in our hand cycles. I'm gonna keep it. No blue mana, obviously, but our only blue card cycles for colorless here. So let's see. See how this turns out. It could be absolutely disgusting. Ooh, and we hit the blue source. Which is really nice. This is going to be great stuff, I think. Ooh, a 1 toughness creature. Let's go, Ruthless Sniper. Let's go. Cycle the Scarab Feast. Target the Avenger. Pay the 1. Attack for 2. A 2/3 that gains them life. That's so much better than the 3/1. I could still kill it here. Discarding the Wasteland Scorpion, I guess. Make the manifestation bigger, make the Sunscourge Champion smaller. They do get to bring this back from the grave for 4, though, so it wouldn't even be the greatest trade in the world. I think I'm just cycling the Scorpion, or keeping it in my hand as an option to cycle. Not super confident in that one. Scorpion would be fine on the battlefield. I think I'm supposed to just keep it. Okay, attack back at us. We'll take 2. Drop an Aven Initiate post-combat. Let's make that smaller and draw a card here. Costs 7 mana to embalm that, so that could take a while. There's some more cyclers for us. I do have 1 double blue card in the deck, but I think it's pretty unlikely I'm going to want to play this desert, so I'm going to kill the Aven. I guess I could play Shimmer Skilldrake this turn instead, but I really like just slamming their board state and making this manifestation as big as possible, as quickly as possible. Wandering Death can actually maybe pick up 2 cyclers later. So we can do a double cycle. Ooh, Steward of Solidarity. That's going to get sniped ruthlessly as well. We'll take 2. And just keep doing our thing, Ruthless Sniper. Disgusting card. Countervailing Winds. One of the more exciting cards in my hand. I think Wasteland Scorpion's the least exciting. Cycle that one. Attacking for 6 now. I guess impeccable timing is in this format for 3 damage to an attacking or blocking creature, so maybe I shouldn't be attacking with Ruthless Sniper. I don't think that card's very good, so I wouldn't tend to run it, but that doesn't mean that other players would not be interested in playing it. And I'd still run if I was really low on removal, so it's definitely something that we need to keep in mind. Can ruin their blocks with instant speed -1/-1 counters, right? And I have a Wandering Death or a Gravedigger if something really bad happens somehow. So I think we send in Manifestation. Here's the double block. We drop the Drake first. Then we drop the Wandering Death. We still have Gravedigger. Now they need a combat trick to kill this thing. And they do not have one, so we did ruin the block, and we get a land for turn. Unfortunately, we don't get to hold up a counterspell after all that. That did take up a lot of mana. If we could just like guarantee lethal here, if we could hold up a counter. Alright, Sunscourge Champion, that's going to gain them some life here. Gain them 4. Yeah, and they're far from dead now. I can again just cycle 1 card, and then their block doesn't go for them, so we're still just doing our Ruthless Sniper thing. Probably play our second Vile Manifestation this turn. Okay, that's all we need to do to win this combat. I'll cast another Vile Manifestation holding up my counterspell if they have an Essence Scatter of their own. And we'll counter that. They do, so we'll counter it. Now we have two 9/4s on the board because our counterspell had cycling as well. This game's making me feel a lot better about our deck, because our opponent has had a lot of stuff of their own, and we're still just going wild with our cycling deck over here. Gravedigger something. Doesn't seem phenomenal. Aerial Guide's pretty huge here. I can attack with both of these and just trade one off and then Gravedigger and recast. It's very simple. It's not fancy at all, but it is probably like our best line. I should have attacked with Sniper, because they're tapped out. They would have to block a manifestation. And this was a huge Vile Manifestation party over here. 9/4s this game. Another Sunscourge champion gains a lot of life, but not enough against two 9/4s. So that is now going to be 3 and 2. Really, really happy with this run now. Generally, I'm not happy with 3/3 runs, but when you turn an 0 and 2 into a 3 and 2, that always feels good. Very nice comeback here. Super, super happy with that. We actually got to do the things. We got to show off the cycling deck, show off the game plan there, and it actually worked out against two opponents now that I think actually like curved out pretty well. They had actual plays throughout the game. We just got to do our pretty nasty stuff. So super, super happy now. Whatever happens from this point on, even after those pretty rough first two games with some real nasty decks from our opponent, nice to have our own deck operate at peak efficiency for a couple games there. So see how things go as we head into round 6. We're on the play again with Vile Manifestation turn 2. That's always a good start. Riverwinder is so much mana, I'm probably going to cycle it turn 1. Very, very, very unlikely to hit 7 mana turn 7 in this deck, which means this is an incredibly late game play. Unfortunately, our opponent's mulliganed twice here, which is not an ideal start for them. See if they keep the 5-card hand or they're mulling again. They're going to keep the 5-card hand. Pass the turn, but we are going to cycle the Riverwinder. Alright, nothing turn 1 from our opponent, but they are on white. Compelling Argument, that is going to get cycled real early as well. Let's just drop our Vile Manifestation. Turn 3, we can just cycle our Wander in Death and our Compelling Argument, so that Manifestation attacks as a 3/4. Aw, Compulsory Rest. That's super, super sad. Not what I wanted to see at all. I do like Ruthless Sniper here. In this matchup, they should have a lot of 1 toughness stuff, or at least some potential 1 toughness stuff if they're Boros here. They have a lot of 3/1 and 2/1 creatures available. Alright, Ruthless Sniper is going to be ruthless here. Just going to go ahead and kill that Aven during their end step. I guess it's not their end step, but now that they're tapped out and they're not playing anything else this turn. Okay, we've got a Heckma Sentinels. That's going to be a big threat, even if the Vile Manifestation won't be. So I'm into that, to where I'm going to play that over Illumination. We still got Wander in Death, which can bring back Vile Manifestation if I sacrifice it. Or I can cycle that to get counters on their stuff. Ooh, Gravedigger can also bring back Manifestation if I sacrifice it to the Compulsory Rest sack ability. I'm just going to send in the Heckma Sentinels here, I think. I mean, I might as well send in both. We just bounce off here. Yeah, and then they know if I cycle 1 card that I'm going to kill the Fan Bearer, so they don't really want to block. And then I think I'm holding all my mana up, probably cycling Wander in Death to minimize this Fan Bearer, and then spend 2 mana to just sack the Manifestation so I can Gravedigger it later. Glory Bringer! Uh-oh. This may end our streak of real good games here. I could draw into an Essence Scatter. Not off of Hieroglyphic Illumination, but off of cycling a card here. If I don't pay 1, I could cycle both. But I think it's probably better to pay 1 and just make Fanbearer 0/1. Alright. If this Glorbinger resolves, I just definitely lose. So it's probably actually better to not pay the 1 to Sniper just so I get 2 chances to draw Essence Scatter. Okay, that's not Essence Scatter, so here's our second chance. Again, if this resolves, I'm just going to lose this game. I'm pretty sure. So, not getting any value here. No Essence Scatter, that's probably game. This is a 4/4 Flying Haste. Every time it attacks, you can exert it to kill something, so they're going to kill the Sniper on their attack. So I guess, actually, we definitely made the right play, because if I just went for a -1/-1 counter there, I guess I could have killed Fanbearer, but I was like, they can just kill Sniper off this attack anyway, so we can't, like, put a counter on Fanbearer over the course of 2 turns. Although, it does look like they're not exerting it. They're just going to go as aggressive as possible here, which is actually, maybe we do have a tiny chance if they're not just killing our cards. Because now, we can actually just keep cycling stuff towards Ruthless Sniper, and then hoping we draw into our -2/-2 thing. Another Heckma Sentinels. They're over it! Whoa! Okay! Whoa! I did not think that we had a shot there, but they scooped. We have no more cycling in hand. They just thought that we were just going to keep doing annoying cycling things, and they were just fed up with it. I am very surprised and happy with that one. Maybe they scooped because they really wanted to exert and kill Ruthless Sniper, but they clicked the all attack button and didn't let them exert, so now they're just mad about Magic Arena doing that, because they're like, I wanted to kill that stupid Sniper, I knew I should have killed that Sniper. Maybe that's what's going on there? But they were not out of it. We were just going to play another Sentinels and attack, and then they could just exert to kill Sniper that turn, and they could start tapping down our biggest Sentinels each turn. Then once the Glorbinger on taps, they're killing another creature. Like, Glorbinger can absolutely still take over the game, even if it's just a 3/3. Yeah, I think we had 0 shot off they exerted and killed Sniper the first attack, so maybe that's what they wanted to do, and the concession was kind of them just irritated that clicking the all attack button doesn't let you exert. That is something very important to note in this format. If you're playing on Magic Arena, one of those things that doesn't really happen in Paper Magic, but can happen on Magic Arena, if you click the all attack button, you're locked out of exerting with anything. So you have to attack with your creatures individually if you're trying to exert cards. So I do get a decent little learning moment out of that. I'm not certain that's what happened. They might have just been frustrated about the cycling deck. It is annoying. There's a lot of triggers on the stack all the time. There's a lot of thinking involved, so it tends to have your opponent playing pretty slowly. And I always play pretty slow, especially when I'm recording, so I know a lot of players will scoop a little preemptively to that as well. But who knows there. Either way, really nice for us, because that's going to push us into 4 wins now. After an 0-2 start, we're now pretty much breaking even. 1,400 gems out of the 1,500 gem entry. Not bad at all. See how things go in Game 7. Alright, opponents on the play, but we have that turn 2 Vile Manifestation. The dream play. We have Splendid Agony, which has been a very, very important card. We've mentioned this in a ton of games where we really wanted to draw it and then didn't. So, kind of spicy to just have it in the opening hand. It's a frequently mentioned card. It's going to be really nice against... it's going to be super nice against their board. Turn 3 here, we're going to kill their Bloodlust Insider and their Nefcrop Entangler. And... either one of these is going to lock out the Entangler from attacking without exerting. But if I play Manifestation, even if they exert, they can't get through that. So the question is if I want to save life or if I want to draw a card and discard a card when I cast Agony. It's tempting, but I think I want to just maximize my life total. The other question could be how much I want to play around removal from them and being in black-red here. Should be able to kill a 0/4 super easily this early in the game. So they probably wouldn't kill either of our 2-drops. They're going to Magma Spray the Manifestation to exile it. That would be annoying. Yeah. Take 2 damage. I guess I should have played Seeker, because I would have blocked with Seeker there, because if they Magma Sprayed Seeker or whatever, I still kill Entangler. But then they would have exerted, it would have played out completely differently. So, I don't know. Definitely on Splendid Agony now, though. Just kill both of those. I don't think there's anything they can do about that at instant speed, so let's just do it right now. Give my Vile Manifestation haste. Send a message. Alright, nice, crisp, clean 2 for 1. Turn 4 from our opponent. They do have cut. Okay. That is a burn spell I wasn't thinking of, but that's because that one is a rare. But that does do 4 damage to a creature, enough to kill a manifestation. And they get to play Bone Picker for 1 mana since a creature died. And without our removal spell, Bone Picker is actually a pretty bad time for us. I have to try to outrace that thing by getting this Vile Manifestation number 2 to start going. Ribbons is a really bad time for us too. Cut is a very good card. 2 mana to deal 4 to something, then you have the ability to just make your opponent lose a bunch of life later in the game. So Ribbons is pretty terrifying. It's going to be really hard to outrace that. A 3 power flyer plus Ribbons engrave. Yep, this is not removal. Paincaster is a pretty big problem as well. It's going to be dealing a damage to us every turn no matter what. Yeah, we need to cycle into some outs here. Desert of the Mindful, not an out, so I might cycle again, although I can draw a card, discard a card off Seeker of Insight instead, and then have a Sunset Pyramid on board. Although if I do that, I don't have a blocker for Paincaster. I'm at 13, so I kind of need to hold a blocker up. I guess I could just not attack with Manifestation if I do that, but I think I would rather cycle attack with Manifestation and hold up Seeker as a blocker. For a trade for Paincaster. It's not looking great here. Yep, hopefully no disastrous trick for us. Splendid Agony is pretty disastrous. That's a 3/4 fire to block Bone Picker, but I don't have the mana for it right now. So I'll need to play Sunset Pyramid. Pass turn so I can trade Manifestation into the Paincaster. Essence Scatter if they play a creature, and if they don't, draw a card off the Pyramid, trying to hit the 5th land for Drake. Now they're just going to start shooting us for 1 every turn with Paincaster. Which gets us killed very, very quickly with Ribbons in their graveyard. We're going down to 6 here. Oh, they're just going to Ribbons me right now. Okay. Down to 5. We're dead next turn if I can't cast this Shimmer Scale Drake. Because they deal 1, I'm at 4. They deal 3 and then deal 1 again. So they deal the full 4 damage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. 15 lands catching up to us here. May have had a shot to stabilize, but not a great one regardless. Yeah, that's just guaranteed game, right? I don't have anything cheap enough to deal with Bone Picker left. I guess we might as well see. We've got another 2 mana card draw here. Or a 2 mana cycle. Same thing. Same difference. That's not going to do it. That could have got Ribbons earlier. That's kind of interesting, but... yeah, not going to get there. We're going to get cut to Ribbons out of the game. Mainly Bone Pickered out. Biggest flaw in the deck's the Lack of interaction for sure. Have that one Splendid Agony and a bunch of counter spells. If our opponent resolves a good flyer, especially if we've already used Splendid Agony, we're gonna have a bad time. Most of the decks, or most of the games we won, involved having our sniper on the board, because that does add a lot of interaction, a lot of removal. So that was definitely a big help in the games that we won, and a big hindrance in the games we lost was the lack of other interactions. So I like this deck a good amount. I think 4 and 3 is pretty reasonable for this. That's probably about the average it does. Rags to Riches would have been pretty huge there too. I forgot we have that as well. Again, biggest flaw here is the lack of like removal. We have Splendid Agony and Rags to Riches for that. And Ruthless Sniper, that definitely counts in this deck with the amount of cycling we have. So we just kind of have the 3 pieces of potential like straight up removal. Then maybe relying a little too hard counting these 2 counter spells in that vein. But these counter spells were excellent. Both of them did a lot of work. So I like everything that's in the deck. However, this deck could have been improved with, had I taken something like Final Death a little earlier, the 5-mana exile a creature card at instant speed. I think that would have been pretty great in this deck. Splendid Agony would have been fine in here. I think Splendid Agony would have improved the deck, but that card is a bit worse. Not super duper happy to put that in here, but probably cut like a Festering Mummy, maybe one of the 3 Heckma Sentinels, or the Aerial Guide. We never really did anything with that. Cut 1 or 2 of these kind of cards for a couple Final Deaths or Lethal Stings. And then I think the deck would have been like really, really good. But as it stands, pretty happy to 4-3 with the deck, especially after an 0-2 start. And it was really cool to show it off. It's one of the cooler strategies in the format. I don't think it's like the strongest strategy in the format or anything. It's nowhere near the menace that Ikoria cycling decks were. I think Amonkhet Remastered is relatively balanced between the various strategies. I don't think there's one like clearly best strategy. You can draft some pretty sick blue-black cycling decks. You can draft some pretty sick Boros aggro decks. A lot of sick stuff you can do in the format, especially with the bombs in the format. It's a little bit bomb heavy, especially Amonkhet Remastered. Hour of Devastation I think was a little bit less bomb heavy than this, but still a little bomb centric because of cards like the gods, the Scarab God, the Scorpion God, and the Locust God. Locust God definitely being the weakest because of how expensive it is, but all 3 of those cards just coming back from your graveyard every time they die is pretty obnoxious, and they're pretty good deals. The Scarab God, if you've never played against the Scarab God in non-cube limited, then I envy you, because that can be really, really, really frustrating. If you thought Scorpion God was bad, Scarab God's pretty sick too. Obviously that God Pharaoh's Gift is also a super sweet one, but yeah, really, really nice run here. Nice 4-3 run, really good recovery after an 0-2 start. I will certainly take it and run with it. That's going to give us 1,400 gems in 3 packs, all but breaking even here. And yeah, had a fun time with this. As always, if you want to see some more content like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to put some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. We've got really great stuff on the horizon. Tomorrow I'm going to be playing another Amonkhet Remastered draft, but after that I will probably try to do another how to draft video for how to draft Dominaria United with my first thoughts on the set, just looking over the spoiler, and then I will be playing, thanks to Wizards of the Coast, I will be playing again in the early access event for Dominaria United. So the newest standard set, the newest mainline draft set is coming to Arena in only a few days, and I will be in the early access event on August 30th, so that'll be super sweet. We're going to be doing a ton of Dominaria United drafts and sealed events as the daily videos for quite some time. So really cool things on the horizon. I hope you stay tuned for all of that, and once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.